One of the things I found the most useful in using instructional videos to facilitate students' self-pacing is that in addition to kids getting the time they need to actually learn my lessons, they can also decide for themselves which lessons they want to prioritize, and even in some cases, which order they want to do the lessons in, which means they can really personalize their path through my units of study. In my middle school music classes, my units are project-based, and they usually involve making a song of some sort within certain parameters. The lessons within each unit are just the steps involved in composing and producing the song from start to finish. So for instance, lesson 1 might be choosing the topic of the song, lesson 2 might be sequencing the drum part, lesson 3 adding the piano, and so on and so on and so on. And by the end of the unit, they have a completed song. Because the class is self-paced, which I can only manage because of my blended video-based instruction, students can decide which lessons they want to prioritize for their song, which I think is really an authentic way of approaching a creative project. I have some students who want to spend lots of time tweaking and really perfecting their drum beat as they sequence it, while other students may want to spend more time crafting sophisticated and poetic lyrics and doing multiple takes of their vocal performance until they get it just right. Some students might even want to start the unit with the lyrics before they make any music, and they can jump around within the unit rather than following my predetermined order, since the instructional videos are all there at the outset. Something they could definitely not do if I was teaching the class live, because I would choose the day and that would be that. To be sure, some of the lessons ask students to do very specific things, which is how I ensure that they're meeting the requirements of the project and working within the parameters that I set. But even in those cases, students have a lot of freedom in deciding how, and I mean how musically, they want to meet those requirements. I like to think of my class as a water glass. I give students the glass, but they choose how they want to fill it up. They might fill it with water, but maybe they'll fill it with juice or milk or something else. And the outcomes are always vastly different from student to student. And even though all the students complete the same 9 or 10 lessons, they wind up with completely different final products. This is really a perk of project-based learning. Students themselves get to determine what the final product looks like, but I was never really able to functionally make this happen before I started using instructional videos. When I delivered live lectures, I think it gave the sense that certain days were dedicated to certain steps in the project, and once those days had passed, students had to move on. This also meant that I set the amount of time students were dedicating to each step, and they didn't really get to dive deep on a particular aspect of the project if that was the part they were passionate about, because I set the pace. They didn't get to choose, they just had to move along with me, and they certainly didn't get to deviate from the order that I decided to teach the lessons in. In a blended setting, instructional videos absolutely do allow them to shape and modify the process of making their songs and determine their own trajectory for the unit. And they feel like they have a lot more to say in how they develop their projects. I've been really happy with the results, and I think they have too.